All right, what do you think of the dreads here? The mullet going on. This is a little emergency episode, shall we say, to talk a little bit about our very first experience at the Mullett Arena here in Arizona. Would you like to?
I look. You should have wore the backwards baseball cap like Deke was, because like it blends in perfectly. I didn't realize that it wasn't on the top too. And when I left, I didn't bring a hat.
Yeah, hat would definitely have worked out well. Almost as well as maybe ending it off with a win last night, but we had to watch Blake Wheeler celebrate like he won the Stanley Cup, shall we say.
But then again, it's so funny because like you'd think if anyone had a grudge against the Coyotes, it'd be him, and even he was like, yeah, it was kind of overblown, the whole college arena thing. It's almost like the players don't actually care. It's almost like it was him and Pierre-Luc Dubois both told Leah Hextall that it was one of the best ice they ever skated on. It's good ice. Good ice there.
What a shock when you have a brand new state-of-the-art facility made by the Oakview Group. They kind of know what they're doing. Anyone know who the Oakview Group are? What have they made, like 4 NHL stadiums now?
I know who they are, but I can't really elaborate too much more on that.
Yeah. Anyways, let's hop into the experience of, how it felt being the first Coyotes in to the arena. As a Coyote fan, obviously they are as ASU who had their own personal games, but I don't know. I know you've been there. I know you've seen it all, but as a fan for the first time walking in, that place felt really special. It felt very tight, no doubt about that. Definitely tight. Corridors are tight. Some design choices that I may not agree with, but we'll get into that a little bit more detail a little bit later on in this emergency video. But overall, the experience was fun. It felt like a fun place to be. It felt very rowdy. It felt very Tempe.
Yeah, it's. I don't know how much drinking you do on Mill Ave, but I've done it a couple of times in my day because I am ancient, as they say. But no, it's got this kind of. I don't want to say laid back because it sure as hell wasn't laid back, but it's just like a chill vibe where it's also just loud, and it probably makes no sense trying to explain it, but it's just. When you're around a bunch of like-minded folk, it's fun, it's great, whatever, it's chill. But then when it's time for the competition to start, you're on the ice. Like I don't know if you got a chance to watch the vlog I posted yet. That's a shameless plug right there. But they were chanting, hooting, hollering all night at the very end of the night, especially towards overtime. You heard that chant, you know what chant I'm referring to.
Oh yeah.
And then when Mark Scheifele fell on the ice, that was one of the biggest eruptions of cheers.
Yeah, I know. It was great. It was a really fun time. My voice is still recovering, as you could probably hear. Still trying to get back to 100%, but overall, man, that was such a cool experience. That was a lot of fun. I am a little worried that the novelty might wear off after 3 to 4 years. But at least for this first season, I can see it being a fun place to play. Overall, I would say fan-wise, it was a lot of fun. It was crazy seeing all the famous people just intertwined with us normies. It was because there was no press box or anything like that. So the press sat at the end of the seats on little risers that they could sit and work on their computers with. And it's just crazy. I'm walking by Greg Wyshynski and I'm walking by Craig Morgan, and even the Healthy Scratches were sitting in the crowd, watching. I'm pretty sure you said you saw Kyle Capobianco, which was a healthy scratch for the Jets, ex-Coyote. It's nuts. We met up with Locked On Coyotes. Robin pointed out that Mike Smith might have been in attendance watching the game as well. I know that people saw Frankie Muniz. He's an Arizona supporter, and he's been a longtime fan of the Coyotes. He was in the attendance around somewhere. Yeah, it was a starstruck event. Let's say that. I felt like everybody knew everybody there, which was kind of cool. It just shows you how intertwined hockey is here in Arizona and how much we all know each other and care for each other.
Yeah, it was literally like I know the whole community thing. You might call it cringe at some point because everyone uses that line. Everyone says community, whatever. But this actually felt like a community. Everybody knows everyone. Every intermission, we're palling around with different people, to like Twitch streamers like Altex and Deke Slayer. We're hanging out with Locked On. Got to meet Craig Morgan, Steve Peters. How the hell am I forgetting? I'm forgetting one. I apologize. You'll flame me in the comments for that. But just everyone recognized everyone. Oh, hey, how's it going? Let's all get together and scream and hoot and holler for the camera and just have a good time. And like, I've never met, except for Altex, I gotta go see a movie with him like the night before this happened. Yeah. But other than that, I never met anyone else there before, and everyone still is like we've known each other for years. We are a small town, the hockey team. Like, I used to work in Buckeye, Arizona. Now that I don't work there anymore, I don't mind saying that. So I worked at Napa Auto Parts. Like the small town vibe there is really weird where I was working, but it's kind of cozy. But with a bunch of rowdy like hockey fans, and it was just welcoming and awesome and fun. And I cannot wait to spend more time in that arena.
Yeah, and on top of that, I think the players are going to enjoy spending more time in that arena too, comparatively. When you talk about the experience comparing it to Glendale, I really do feel like this is a much better experience. If the money is the same, and I tweeted out on my Twitter about how the money can be about the exact same as it was last year, which I do believe it is, I would much rather have this experience than going to Glendale and getting blown out by the away crowd and playing on crappy ice surface, in a no offense, but getting worn down building ultimately. And you're in a brand new state of the art facility that has, like you were saying, some of the best ice hockey in the NHL currently. And that's because it's brand new, modern, state of the art equipment. It's just, it's a good experience, and I hope that it stays. I hope it stays for a few more years. Obviously, I don't want this to be a permanent location for the Coyotes. Obviously, I'm not calling for that. But as for a temporary solution, I hope this rowdiness stays up.
And like I got to mention, I think you were standing next to me when I mentioned it to Craig Morgan, but I think this honestly was the best possible decision. I love the Madhouse. You know me. I was saying they should just renovate and go play there. But especially when you get to talk to people like Craig Morgan and see like just how much more work, effort, and money would have needed to go into it for that, it ended up not being worth it because that money is better spent on this Tempe Arena proposal. And on top of that, they get themselves involved in the community. Once again, if you're going to go, I've been saying this for months, if you want to get in business in Tempe, you get into bed with ASU. And the fact that they got a relationship there and things right now are going smooth, it was the best possible outcome. And the fan experience, look, in the years I've been a hockey fan, I've probably gone to at least somewhere around 500 hockey games. It's somewhere in there, like 300. I almost counted 82, not 41. My apologies. Somewhere around 300 hockey games, just different levels of hockey, mostly NHL. The only vibe that was superior was the 2010 playoffs. I love the 2012 playoffs, but I think 2010 was just more special because
that first game.
Oh my God!
That first game, there was no away fans. It was every single person was a Coyote fan in that first game. I remember that game. I still remember that game. That was a loud building.
That was goosebumps. Absolute goosebumps thinking about that. So it's like the fact that the only other comparison I have is that. And look, you know me, I love Glendale. I love the West Valley, the more like open, space. I love that building. I like the fact that you have more space to maneuver around. But you need the building to be full. I want the building to be more full because I want the team to make money and be successful. So I will trade my personal preference gladly for this just electrifying atmosphere. Like, you have no idea how excited I am. Like, I don't regret selling the PS5 to go to that game last night. Like, that was literally the most unique experience ever. And the novelty will wear off in a year. Like, not to sound negative, just to be realistic, it will wear off in 1 year, and people will be ready for that next arena. But whenever the season is over, and hopefully on the 29th, that vote becomes yes, and then whatever else might happen, we get through that and we get a break ground date. By the time we're tired of it, by the time the novelty's worn off, that's when we should be breaking ground. As long as everything keeps progressing the way it should. So it's like, again, it sounds negative on the surface. It's really not. because everyone's going to be ready for that new arena. So then the excitement just gets built up for that new project.
Yeah.
While they're still being rowdy for Mullett. So it's like,
and
I'm living in the moment.
And the on ice product hopefully will be much better by that time as well.
Yeah.
I do have some criticisms of the arena. I want to point out. One of the, obviously the first one being that it is tight. Those corridors are tight, and it's not like, oh, we crammed 9,000 people into 5,000 seat arena. This is built for 5,000 people, or 4,700. You know, it was built for, it was built for that amount of people, and it does feel pretty tight for that amount of people. I will say that is a pretty decent criticism. Also, the bathroom situation is a little bit iffy. It seemed like there was only a bathroom on each side, and then you would like go down into the lower first floor, and then there were 2 more bathrooms down there that I don't think anybody really knew were back there. There was really bad lines for the bathroom between intermissions. Like, I understand there's going to be lines. I'm fine with lines, but these were really bad lines. These were going really far back. Maybe, you know, that'll kind of sort itself out with time as people realize, oh, these are where all the bathroom locations are. 100% that could be the case, but that is a pretty big criticism of the arena. The last thing that I have to say that kind of I'm not a big fan of is it's not a full track. So I thought perceptionally, I thought it was going to be a full track that you could walk. It's not. It's actually like a C shape, and then one side of that oval is like dedicated to like the lounge, like the premium lounge section that you're not allowed to enter without like the premium lounge tickets or whatever. That is a little, I don't know if I like that, but obviously it's not built for me. It's built for ASU. And if that's something that maybe ASU really wanted for those boosters or whatever the case may be, then I understand. One quick thing that I did want to note that I feel like a lot of people aren't mentioning about the annex and how important it is for ASU once the Coyotes hopefully leave the annex is that one of the biggest, I was listening to, I think it was PHNX or somebody like that, who brought on one of the builders who built the Mullett Arena. And one of the biggest mistakes that he said that he felt like they made when building the arena was that they only put 2 locker rooms, the home and the away locker room in. The problem with that is that because they only had 2 locker rooms, they could not host like juniors tournaments or big tournaments because they didn't have enough locker rooms. Adding on the annex, they now have those locker rooms to host those tournaments. So that annex isn't just like a gimme like free 25 mil. This is actually a building that is quite important to the builders and for ASU to host these events in the future, which is really cool.
Yeah.
I didn't get to see the annex in person. I just kind of ran in. I was too excited, so I didn't do a circle of the perimeter or anything like that. Were you able to check that out while you were here?
Officially, no. But when I was crossing over, I forget which road it is, but it's this real slot. I was crossing past it, and you can see the parking lot, you can see the annex. So just from what I officially have seen as a fan, you can see it. It's pretty sizable. It looks kind of small, like from a distance, but at the same time, if they're going to utilize everything properly, it should be more than enough for everything they need. And then on top of that, it's like you're saying. It's perfect for essentially expanding. Let's go ahead and use like computer terms, expanding storage, because obviously they needed more storage. So it's like, hey, there you go. You can use those for other things. So it was a very mutually beneficial arrangement for the Coyotes and ASU. So it's like, heck, you got to start off the business somewhere.
Yep. As for, I heard like people were saying that the away team might go through the concourse when the arena or when that annex is completed. If it is going to be that first story, I don't see that being that much of a problem. That first story was pretty dead. I don't know if you feel the same way. I don't know exactly where they're going to be walking on the concourse, but I do know that the away team is going to be walking through somewhere. It didn't seem like a big deal to me. To me, when I heard like, oh, the players are going to be walking on the concourse with the fans, the visiting team, like, okay, there could be some problems here. But if it's that first level that I'm thinking of, I don't see it being a detriment. I don't see it being something where you're like, oh yeah, we're getting overwhelmed with fans or something like that.
I have to be very careful when I talk here, so it's just
I understand
that,
that you got to be careful. I'll move us on. How about that?
Well, I mean, I can at least I can provide a little bit of context, a small bit that's just of that's publicly available.
Yeah,
I don't see what they mean by walking through the concourse. I unless they're wrapping them around the building and they're going to that entrance that we all had to, like the non-VIPs had to go through on. Is that the north end? I need to get my bearings with which is north, south, east, and west. I think it's like opposite of what I think it is. But if it's that, then I don't know because I don't remember if there's a way on the ice from that direction. So I don't know how that works. I don't know why they're saying it's going to be from the concourse. I could just be having a flawed mental map of what I saw because I only got to see it once or twice. But just from what I saw, I don't see how that makes sense.
All right. Well, that is from the Map Man, and I don't know. Overall, I thought it was a good experience. Obviously, it's not for long term. I feel like we have to keep continuously prefacing that it's not for long term. We know that this is going to be for the short term, and I think that it's just going to be an overall better experience to have all your passionate Coyotes fans stay there. Hopefully the away team does not overtake that building nearly as often as they were in Glendale. And yeah, I don't know. I don't really have anything else to say. It was fun just meeting everybody. It was crazy how many people we met.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And I guess just before we start like signing off, I just want to talk about the design of the building real quick. Yeah. I think here's how it makes sense because I don't think you've gone to an ASU game yet. There's that little side entrance. That's where the students go in as. They kind of like force them up from the top or from the bottom, so they go up. So okay, students section here. There's no real reason for most fans to need to wrap around there unless you're going to that little. It's usually a designated kids team shop, which is really weird. It's like children's merchandise is there. Got a chicken stand and a burger stand. So like for the most part, you don't need to go over there. And then everything else is kind of wrapped around the rest of the building. So I think it's a weird design. To where it's like, I know other people weren't like me, weren't in the building multiple times. So that's why I was like, hey, go to the bathroom downstairs. Yeah. But it was it takes a little getting used to having that little ramp that goes up and you're essentially going up through the seats to get upstairs or you're on the perimeter. So for ASU's needs, especially with how they, like, it makes perfect sense. But you can also, right there, it's the biggest example of it wasn't built for the Coyotes. It was built for ASU because it's a very weird setup because all that premium seating, it's right behind the player benches, all the alums, whatever, it makes sense, but it's kind of weird. It's gonna take some getting used to.
Yeah, for sure. And I didn't go on the second floor. I didn't go up there yet. I don't know. I didn't have the courage to go up there and check it out. So
I'm pretty sure you have to have a press pass up there because Kevin Bianco. Where I was sitting, if you just look straight up, he was on the little upper balcony. So I think he was just down there going to the bathroom. It's just the suites. And then this is all public. I can talk about this. It's suites, go all the way to the very end. And that's like you have a little press box because it's only designed for college. So I'm assuming the play-by-play goes up there. You also have the couple of, apparently one of my YouTube comments was AHL style camera setups, but it's built for college. So yeah. It's pretty straightforward, simple setup. It's kind of what you see is what you get.
Yeah, I definitely know that the play-by-play went up there because I'm pretty sure Bob He's house and Lindsey Fry up there calling the play-by-play. So I definitely think that they go up there and I don't have anything else to say. So I'm just trying to drag on however much time you need to make sure that you got everything that you need to say.
The only thing I have left to say, honestly, is just block out the noise because this is one of those things in 20 years, you're going to be looking back on I got to experience that. So literally live in the moment. Obviously, you see me, as long as you're not doing personal insults, anything, it's degenerate, you just little light trash talking, sure. But other than that, just enjoy it because that was way too much fun to let some miserable nobody St. Louis Blues podcast trash talk your day. That's a shot fired right there.
There you go. There you go. All right. Well, thank you so much for this little emergency episode. We should be getting the podcast to you tomorrow, I believe it'll be. And yeah, we'll see you tomorrow.
So yeah.